Oh, sorry about that. Oh, so, just getting into the little book here. Got carried away. George R.R. Martin. You heard of him? Yeah, he's the Game of Thrones guy. Yeah. This, have you heard of this one? Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. He's, yeah, it's a kind of prequel to it, really. It's about the time before all the Game of Thrones business. I've just been picking it up to have a little read here, and then your good self came in, and I'm sorry about that. Anyway, customer focus. Hello, welcome to the Book Emporium. My name's Steve O. How can I help you? The other chap, the guy who runs this. Oh, I'm afraid he's on holiday at the moment, and he's left me in charge. Yeah. Well, oh, you've come to collect an order. Okay. Just bear with me 1 minute, and I shall see here. He left me this lovely little notebook there. Yeah. It's got all the orders in there, and what I should be doing. Yeah. Well, I'm quite new here. I've only been here a couple of weeks myself, and truth be told, I spend more time reading the books than actually selling them. But don't tell the boss man that. Okay, right. What day was it? Okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, here we are. Right. Here's the list of the orders. Right, let me have a quick look. Wednesday. Okay, so we've got someone coming in about a couple of Dracula books for Halloween. That was done earlier. And we've also got somebody coming in about books on origami, paper folding, lovely. And there we are, large order coming in around about midday. So it's currently... yeah, it's midday, so you must be the person. Great. Okay, right, what I'll do is I see that there is a load of books down here beside the desk, so hopefully they're the ones you wanted. Now let me just check the note from the owner. It says coming 12 o'clock. They have specified for some action adventure books. Okay, they've also specified for some travel type books, and they wanted some sci-fi books. Okay, very eclectic reading list there. So let me just have a look and see what we've got. We'll run through the books, and I can tell you if I know a little bit about the author and so forth, and hopefully they're the right ones you ordered. Okay, shall we get going? Great. Okay, let me just put my little notebook down there and see what we've got. Right. So, the first one out of the pile is Chris Ryan, so I'm guessing this must be your action-adventure type book called Hellfire. Okay, so let's just have a little look at this. I think I may have read this one recently, actually. Yeah, it's about a SAS chap called Danny Black. I know he's wrote a couple of different main hero characters, and I think Danny Black's one of the more recent ones. I know he wrote a couple of books of him. So, yep, this is about a sort of terrorist rescue. Is that right? Is that the sort of thing you were looking for? Yeah, you like a nice sort of easy, quick read, bit of a fast-paced thing, a bit like a film. Yeah, great. So I reckon a bit of Chris Ryan there for you. You can't go wrong with a little bit of Chris Ryan SS action, can you? No. So this looks quite a good one. Yeah, I do remember it actually. Yeah, I think I've read this one. If it's the one I think it'll sit in Africa. Yep. Going to Africa. Yep. Trying to rescue somebody. Yep, that's the one. So I'm sure you'll enjoy this one. It's very easy to get into. Very good book there. Now this is obviously the hardback version there. Is that the one you wanted? We probably do have a paperback somewhere, but I'm not sure where at the moment. So if you're happy with that, I can put that in. Yep, that's great. Yep, that's the one you wanted. Okay, brilliant. So let's see what little Jules up next. Okay. Oh, I think this one is definitely to be classed in the action adventure series. It's good old Tom Clancy. Now you can't go wrong with a bit of Tom Clancy there. You know, Hunt for Red October and Patriot Games, that kind of thing. Of course, quite a lot of them have been made into films as well. Now, this one, I think it's quite a new one actually. Let's have a little looky. So we've got, yeah, 2017. So this is obviously written after Tom Clancy's death in 2013. So this one's written by a chap called Mike Madden. Now, I know quite a lot of people collaborate generally these days to carry on the series. Now, this is, as you can see on the front cover there, a Jack Ryan Jr. one. Now, this is obviously, you know, the early books, Jack Ryan. Well, this is his son carrying on the legacy, in effect. So, this is carrying on the later books that he tended to write. About Jack Ryan Jr. sort of being undercover spy operative type thing, a bit like his father was before he became president. But yeah, this is another one. It's quite easy to read, as far as I know. I mean, a lot of the ones are pretty, you know, easy to get into generally, because you know who the characters are, so you don't have to be set up every time. If you know the Tom Clancy books, then it's definitely well worth reading. Yep. So I presume that's another one on your list. Yeah, great. Let's just pop that down there and see what else we got. Oh, here's an interesting one. Here's one that some people heard of, some people haven't. Now, I've read quite a lot of his books. Steve Berry, there. Not to be confused with Mary Berry of formerly the Great British Bake Off, because otherwise that would be a cookbook, which obviously you went down to have a cookbook there, were you? No. Okay, now this one is a sort of, yeah, it's just kind of thriller writer as well, but he tends to do what's sort of historical thrillers. I mean, not old ones as such, but things that are based upon real life events perhaps in the past, and puts his own little spin on it so that there's something in the modern day that maybe an investigator has to go along and check, and it could be based upon a treasure or something like that from hundreds of years ago. Now this particular one is based upon, let's have a look, it's based upon, yeah, the American Civil War, in effect, where I think I remember this one. It's in effect sort of treasure that's been hidden at the end of the Civil War, and now various people are trying to get hold of it, and you know, they want to change the country or want to be wealthy or for whatever other reason. But yeah, this is quite a good series. The chap in this one is called Cotton Malone, and he's a sort of investigator, I suppose, it's a better word, and he's involved in a lot of the Steve Berry books. He's kind of like the Chris Ryan character is to Tom Clancy, the early one there, Tom Clancy one. So this is quite a good little read there, and there's obviously some historic bits and pieces, facts about that, and some of it is set in Washington DC as well. So, you know, if you know Washington, then you also know about this book with some of the settings and so forth. So that's another good little one to read there for the action ones. Are you interested in that? I say it's a bit different, and it's not the usual old, you know, the same writers over and over again. So if you want to read him, I'll definitely recommend it. You do? Okay, fantastic. Okay, so what else have we got here? What else have we got? Now, I think we shall move on to the... now, this is a good old Aussie writer coming up here, and a good old sci-fi. So, you may have heard of this one, but you may not have done. Now, it's by a chap called Frank Herbert, who's an Australian writer, and it's called The Great Dune Trilogy. Now, the main book in this one is actually called Dune. Now, this is kind of, it's almost like along the lines of Star Wars kind of thing, but it's sort of written before that. So I know he started writing the series in the late 60s, and sort of throughout his lifetime he's added to it, really. So it's quite a hefty tome, you can see, but the great thing about this one, it's a bargain price, and also you get the first 3 original books all in there. Some people go and find like the Dune book, and then they carry on reading the series. Now this is the first 3 with the main sort of character in it, so it's quite good, because the later books sort of went into the characters, other, you know, later generations and other characters and so forth. So if you want to sort of get into it, I'd definitely recommend this one. It's sort of about, how do you describe it? It's kind of a royal family gets sent to a desert planet there, and there's various enemies, etc., that want to get rid of them, and you sort of meet the desert people in there, and it's sort of like a good versus evil moral tale, I guess. But you've got all three of the main books in here. As you can see from the index here, you've got June itself, which is the main kind of the book. It's the main book. It's about the Atreides family, specifically Paul Atreides, who is the son of the Lord of June, in effect, and what happens to him and how he sort of grows up and fights the war, etc. And you've got June Messiah there, which is the second one in the series. It's a bit shorter than the first one, but it kind of follows on years later what happens to Paul and his family. And then you've got Children of June, which in this particular case, it's the children of the next generation. So that's the point of where the sort of the main character in the first couple of books is phased out a little bit and the children take over. So the journey is kind of really following the events. So it's very much like Star Wars, where it sort of starts out with Anakin Skywalker. If you watch the prequel of the sequel of the prequel of the sequel of the prequel of the sequel, if you know what I mean. And then it moves on to Luke Skywalker, obviously, in the three, which were the original, but which were actually after the original three, which were after the three original. Oh, well, you know what I mean. There's so many Star Wars films, I get lost these days. So yeah, that's definitely worth it. And I say, good Australian writer. I say it's a little bit of a hefty tone, but it's one of those ones, if you just want to pick it up, you can even just read literally the particular parts of the book you want to do, you know. You can just read June, you can then move on to the second book, the third book, or you can just read the original. It's entirely up to you, but it's one of those ones you can either read all three in one go, like one big book. I say it's kind of, if you've read Lord of the Rings, you know, that's really three books in one. And so you can pick it up and let it off when you feel like it. So, you know, it's sort of, and it even comes with a little map there. So, little map of the world of June. So you can sort of see there's little settlements there, and these are sort of the main places where it's referring to. So again, a bit like Lord of the Rings, where it's got the little map in the back, and if you want to know where they're going, what they're doing, and like that. Now, I do think they've made a couple of film attempts at June, but I'm not sure if any of them have been any good or stinkers or whatever. But you know, personally, I just prefer to read the book. Now, would you be interested in that? You would, because I know that we've got a little special here. This is reasonably rare, to be honest. It's the fourth in the June series. It's called God Emperor of June. You can see it's just a little book there. It's like a little hardback book there, which is quite unusual to get these little hardback books, but quite useful reading on the train or taking on an aeroplane or so. There you can see it's a nice little compact book. Now this is the fourth one, so this is kind of set way into the future after the original June book. So it's sort of, even though it's still written by Frank Herbert, this is sort of set, you know, he may have written it 20 years after the original when they did another three books, and this kind of picks up the story where it left off. So this, again, it's generations later of the original June story. It's still set on the original planet as such, but things have changed a little bit. So it's sort of what happens to the characters at the end. So, you know, you would get that question mark. You think, oh, I wonder what happened in the future. It's a bit like, again, the Star Wars series, where it picks it up with Luke Skywalker's, as far as I know, daughter. I've not really seen many of the new stuff, but it sort of goes from there, and then it carries on again in the future. So over the period of, whereas the original book probably spans a period of maybe 30 years perhaps, these ones span thousands of years in the future. So we're talking like things have changed in a slightly crazy way perhaps. I don't know. But again, it's good just to pick up the little story on this one. And I say this comes with a bargain, you know, by the other book. And I know there are other June series books as well. Afterwards, there's obviously, you can sort of see from that little point there, you've got a Heretics of June there, you've got Chapter House June. So there's another couple in the series there. I believe his son may have written, Brian Herbert, may have written some of the later books as well with his dad and other collaborations. It's just because no one is counting the series really there. So hopefully that's something you'll be interested in. Yeah, definitely. I say this is a nice little read. It's a nice little size. Very, very compact there. Very, very compact. So, it's all good. Now, the last two I can see, I think, are to do with travel. So, let me have a quick look. Sorry about the squeaky chair. Now, this one is a travel book by a chap called Paul Theroux. Now, I have read this one, and it's called Dexter Safaris. It's basically about a man who is recreating a journey he took in the 1960s. He actually taught children in, I think it was Malawi and Tanzania and Uganda, that kind of place, before Idi Amin and all the rest of the wars happened. And he's sort of travelling back, 30 odd years later, to travel the heart of Africa, or as much as he can, but he's trying to do it without going on aeroplanes and so forth. So he's sort of getting lists from people, he's going on trains, he's getting on buses, which are quite interesting, and he's travelling through some of the areas where perhaps these days, one or two dodgy areas. He's going like through Sudan and Malawi and South Africa and so forth, and it's quite a good little book. Again, it's one you can just pick up and drop off, because they're all in different chapters in different countries and what happens to him, some of the adventures he has, the people he meets, and it's quite fascinating, really, for somebody who's sort of going back to see things and in the state that they're in, if they're better, if they're worse. It's very interesting. And I say, it's the first time I've read Paul Theroux with this book as well, and it's quite a good little travel writer there. It's real, I guess. It's not one of these ones where you see on the television where it's quite obviously fairly staged, fairly safe. They get transported from A to B, get off, look at something, get on again, go, and it's done in an hour, and it's in the whole country. No, this is sort of, I guess it's as it says here, it says Paul Theroux sets off for Cape Town from Cairo the hard way, travelling across bush and desert, down rivers and across lakes. So basically, he's doing it the way that the locals would do, in effect, taking a local bus, local transport. He's not, say, hiring a jeep and driving straight across, going, oh look, and not getting out air conditioning and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's quite a good little book there, and you can see like a nice little illustration on the front there. But it's just sort of fascinating. So you get to hear about places like Malawi, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and these are in the days sort of where things were still a little bit haywire, but because he knows people there and worked there in the past, he can seem to get through. So that's one, if you're interested in that kind of travel book. Yeah. Oh, excellent. So far 100%. Now it looks like there's one book left, and I think it's a more traditional travel book and more informational, but some could argue we save the best for last. Australia and New Zealand. Beautiful. I've got a brother who works in a travel agent, and I'm sure he could fix you up with a lovely deal, lovely bargain. Yeah. Well, if you're interested, just let me know, and I can give you his number, and he can set you up with a lovely Australian holiday. So, as I say, this is Discover on Australia and New Zealand, and it's a little book there that goes into the history of the country, what famous places there are, the towns, the culture, everything you could possibly think of in the little book here. And you can see it's written by the Reader's Digest. Now, Reader's Digest used to put free supplements in things, and they've probably written about everything under the sun. So let's have a little look here. I mean, you can sort of see it's got lovely glossy pages there, nice sort of pictures. You can sort of see lovely shot of Australia there. Beautiful. Anyway, so each sort of chapter, it's got lots of little pictures there, so it's quite interesting to read, or just look at the pictures. As I say, it goes into some of the sites and some of the history. You can see there a picture of Uluru, or Ayers Rock as it's known. What else have we got in here? I mean, it's sort of, as I say, it goes into some of the history. And you can see there some of the older pictures there, and some of the history about the country itself. And obviously it's both Australia and New Zealand as well, so New Zealand's beautiful too, definitely. In fact, what I would recommend is possibly trying to combine both, take 6 weeks off, grab a camper van and travel around the whole. What beautiful. Anyway, so as I say, it's It's got lots of different pictures of lots of different the wildlife as well. You can see the kangaroo. And what I like about this book is it also looks at, as I say, wildlife, different things as well. And it goes into the history and looks at some of the towns and cities. Let's see if we can find anything about towns and cities. There we go. So there's things about towns and cities. Auckland, Wellington, Sydney, Melbourne. So some of the major places you might like to visit. So as you can see there, again, beautiful pictures there and a lot of information. So it's very useful. And what I also like about this book, it gives you lots of facts and figures in the back there. Lots of facts and figures. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, and it's got lots of lovely maps there. You can see Australia there, and I believe that's the east coast of Australia. Beautiful. And so they don't feel left out, there's New Zealand. Yeah, and as I say, you might want to consider travelling there one day. And as I say, it's a really interesting factual book. So for yourself, the kids, anybody who wants to know about Australia and New Zealand. Beautiful. Anyway, so I think that looks like that was your total order. So if I just zoom back through them just to make sure they're the right ones. So we've got the Australia and New Zealand book. You happy with that? Great. And we've got the pull through Dexter Safaris one. Yep. Great. Then we've got the kind of twofer. Yeah, 2 for 1. The June original trilogy, and let's get this the right way up so you can see it. The God Emperor of June books. Yep, you're really interested in that? Yes, say, great Australian writer. Lovely. And we've also got the 3 action adventure ones. So you've got your Steve Berry one, which, as I say, not many people have read him, but he's a good writer. You've got the Tom Clancy continuation of the Jack Ryan series there. So that's great. And last but not least, we've got the Chris Ryan. So I think that completes your order. So let me just tick that off the list. Okay, done. Now, hopefully that's everything for you. Yep. Great. Now, what I'll do, I'll get the, when he's back from holiday, the manager to phone you, and hopefully you can tell him you had a good service here. Not like that, I know what you're thinking, dirty mind. And everything was fine. Great. So I'll let you take your purchases home. And my name's been Steve-O, so feel free to give me a call at any point if you have any other suggestions that you want to run through book-wise. I'll see what we've got, especially things like Frank Herbert. If I can find any more of the series, I'll get back to you. But in the meantime, have a great day, and please do visit us soon and enjoy your books.